Hey, what's up, DS3TV? I can see you haven't subscribed to the channel. It's kind of weird. You should subscribe. I mean, we got some good content here. And also, go to the Twitch that's in the link down in the description. Link is probably right here under me. And yeah, should do all of that. And yeah, please subscribe. Get to see me have hot sauce that I don't really want to have when we get to 10,000. So subscribe. What is up, DS3TV? We are back for another video. This one is a Veritasium video explaining concrete while getting buried in it. You can also recommend me videos in the comment section down below. If you you can recommend me videos in the comment section down below if you have any suggested videos that you want me to watch or anything like that. As long as they're not as long as they won't get me copyright straight, I'll watch it. And yeah, and react to it. But let's get into the video without further ado.
I'm about to get buried in concrete, and while that's happening, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about this substance.
That is so crazy. What? And, I mean, concrete. I know like a little bit about concrete, but like I wanted to watch this because he's getting buried in it. Like, that's such a crazy thing to do and explain it while you're getting buried in it. It's crazy.
So the first thing that I want to clear up is the difference between cement and concrete, because people often mix these up, okay? Cement is like the glue. It's the matrix of stuff. Oh, there, I feel it. Okay, that feels good. Now concrete is cement plus aggregate, so plus gravel.
Oh, so you gotta add like gravel, sand, or like blacktop or something. So like that's so I didn't know that. I thought like cement was just like a synonym that you can use for
and sand, and this is filling up really rather quickly. Cement is the most important man-made substance on the planet. We use more of it than any other substance apart from water. Every year, 500 kilograms of cement are created for every man, woman, and child on Earth. And that amount of cement can make 2 cubic meters of concrete, which is about 2 of these big fish bowls.
This video is sponsored by Ren. I don't think people realize just how important concrete is, so here's another way to think about it.
I mean, it's definitely important in like places like America, where like we have a very car-centric society. Even in places that is not even about like a car-centric society. In Europe, they have like a lot of like paved walkways that have that use concrete, right? So yeah, definitely.
Every year we make a certain weight of goods out of copper, more out of aluminum, and then you have glass, asphalt, lime, iron is a big one for all the steel, and then there's ceramic and wood. But by far, the solid product we make the most of is cementitious material, essentially cement. We use as much of it as we do all other materials combined. And it's easy to see why. Concrete is liquid rock. You can pour it into any shape you like. It's strong and durable and inexpensive, and it is so easy to produce that people have been making a version of it for thousands of years. To make primitive cement, the key ingredient is limestone, which is basically calcium carbonate. If you heat it up to around 1,000 degrees Celsius, that drives off CO2 out of the rock, leaving calcium oxide, which is also known as quicklime. Now, if you grind up the calcium oxide and mix it with water, you get an exothermic reaction that creates calcium hydroxide, which you can pour into a mold, and over time it will absorb CO2 from the atmosphere, turning back into calcium carbonate as the water evaporates. Now, that's a pretty good primitive cement. It's the first way that people ever made cement, but there are several drawbacks to it. I mean, for one thing, you can't make the molds very big because otherwise CO2 can't penetrate all of the material and harden it.
And then plus it's not, you don't know if it's gonna dry quickly then, because if you like, yeah, it'll dry quickly in a place like Arizona, but if you live in a place like Florida, for instance, it's not going to dry
Plus,
quickly.
it's not going to work underwater where there is no CO2 to harden your mixture. The Romans discovered the solution to these problems. They added volcanic ash called pozzolana to the crushed limestone before heating it up. And they discovered this cement was much stronger and much more durable. They used it to create the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, the Pantheon, which has stood for 2,000 years. And they built concrete piers into the sea, which hardened underwater, some of which are still standing today.
I did not expect it to feel this heavy. Like, it's already like really weighing down my feet and making me slightly concerned about being
It is filling up like really, really fast though. I did not think it was going to fill up that bowl that
able
fast.
to get out. What I can tell you is that concrete is about 3 times as dense as water.
Are you able to lift the leg? I just want to make sure that you're not going to have like some suction.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try to lift a leg just to see how bad it's gonna be. What I like is having my feet on the bottom, and I'm not sure I can get them back down there after I lift it up, but oh boy. Okay, so that was like, I'm gonna try to lifting this leg pretty slowly, and I was able to lift it. So at least up to this point, I am able to get out.
My fear is that the concrete is so dense that when it gets up around my chest, it may apply a lot of pressure, making it hard to breathe.
It's like being in a trench and having to cave in on you.
That's what I was thinking. And also, I just have to say, this man is the most yeehaw man I've ever seen. Like, David Cowboy riding. That name is like the most Texas name ever. I just gotta say.
You cave in your lungs so you can breathe. Because once they contract and the weight gets against your lungs,
That's gonna be hard.
Have you thought about that?
Well, now that you mention it. But we do have oxygen on hand just in case. Earlier, I practiced how I could get out of the bowl if I'm in trouble.
Do you feel that's okay?
That's no problem.
Okay, great.
If you didn't think it was wild when I was like at first saying that this is wild that he's getting buried in concrete, you can see the dangers now, right? Like, I'm assuming you can see the dangers.
So how did Roman concrete harden underwater and in thick slabs that CO2 couldn't possibly penetrate? There is a claim that it was superior to modern concrete. So was it? For centuries, the Roman recipe was lost. It was only discovered in a book in a Swiss monastery in the 1400s. And since then, architects, scientists, and engineers have been experimenting.
Also, the reason why that happened a lot too, how, like the ingredients for that got lost and it was just found like in a Swiss monastery. The reason for that is books weren't made that often because only the rich people could read. And also, I mean, I don't know. We might have watched a video about this actually a long time ago, and that's probably why I remember it. But yeah, they didn't write as many books, and you only wrote books of things that were popular. So if somebody didn't write enough of that book, or all of those books were just eaten by bookworms, you lost the book forever. And it was no way to keep that book in a certain condition like how we can now, just like by keeping it on the internet or something like that, right?
With different cement recipes to try to achieve the best result. Now, it turns out that incredible strength, durability, and ability to set underwater of the Roman cement, that came from the pozzolana, that volcanic ash that was added. And nearly 2,000 years later, people discovered that adding clay or shale to the limestone before it was crushed and heated produced the same effect. And the reason is that all of these materials contain silica. And silica totally changes the chemistry of the cement. It means
it makes it more durable, right?
That it doesn't need to dry in order to harden. In fact, the water becomes an integral part of that hardened concrete, so that it actually achieves maximum strength when it sets underwater.
So this is the compressive cylinder curing room. We're required to maintain the concrete samples in 100% humidity, so we've chose to submerge them in water in a lime bath.
Every time concrete suppliers pour concrete on a job site, they cast sample cylinders of the material so they can later test it to ensure it has the strength required.
So we actually intercept a little bit of the concrete going into whatever structure they're pouring, a slab, a wall. We'll intercept it into a wheelbarrow, take the wheelbarrow over to our testing station and start casting these.
Oh, I've seen that before. I've seen them like take it from like a wheelbarrow into like 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 they're taking it somewhere. But I never understood like why they needed the wheelbarrow for it if they weren't like putting it into like like where it was going, right?
Compressive cylinders. Every day we're breaking these cylinders, checking it for strength. You can see these have been broken today.
This strength increases over time, so samples are tested at 7, 14, and 28 days when the concrete is said to have reached full strength.
So what we do is we list the date that there will be placed in the compression machine on top of every cylinder.
In reality, it will continue strengthening after that. Samples are placed in a hydraulic press, and then the pressure is increased on them until they fail.
All right, ready?
Yeah, let's do
Start
it.
loading. We want to maintain.
This is insane. I kind of want to see how does like. I know how concrete breaks, but like I want to see how it breaks in a hydraulic press. I used to when like those videos used to be like very very like popular and viral, like the hydraulic press channels and stuff. I used to like love those channels. Like those channels were like my like favorite channels in the world to watch.
Maintain around 30 psi per second.
And it's important to load at that rate.
Yeah, you don't want to shock it. You don't want to shock it by applying too much load too fast. This middle number is showing us our strength in pounds per square inch. And then the top number, the big number, showing us the force of pounds we're applying.
What are we going to get up to, like 7,000 psi?
10,000.
10,000. So this is going to be really strong.
Very strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always fun when we get something over 10,000. Like a pre-show. Bang!
It'll shake this room. And these are reinforced concrete walls.
It's amazingly just like you can't see anything happening, even under all that pressure.
It's still holding.
I know, right? It's
Oh, here it goes.
starting and dropping.
Really?
There it goes.
11,000?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, over 11,000 now. Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. That's still
A
pretty
lot happened. You didn't even budge at all. That's my favorite part.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Like the strongest concrete in the world.
Well, the strongest concrete in the world is going to be like a lab-only thing.
In a competition was above 100,000 psi.
Today, virtually all concrete
That's so much weight though. That probably was like made for like a dam, I would assume, because like dams have to like hold so much water, and like they have to be strong.
is made
right?
with a cement formulation discovered in the 1840s. It's known as Portland cement. But the name is really just a marketing term. They claimed that the gray color of the cement would resemble these very desirable rocks which were quarried near the town of Portland, England. But the Portland cement was made by crushing up limestone and then mixing it with a certain percentage of shale or clay to provide the silicates. Then that was all ground up into a fine powder and put in a kiln and heated to very high temperatures. And what comes out are these nodules that are really hard. They're called clinker. Now, it's suspected that cement chemists in the past may have produced clinker by accident when they overcooked their lime mixtures. But since this clinker is so hard to grind down, they just considered it waste. But if you do grind it down, the cement that it produces is far superior to basically any other chemistry we've discovered, which is why it is so.
All right, hold on a second. Okay, and we are back. I had to delete some stuff because it was not enough space on my computer. And it said I either had to stop the recording or delete this recording, and I'm like, I'm not deleting it. So yeah, we are back into this one, and let's get into it. Play. Oh, sorry.
Besides Portland cement, the most common one is tricalcium silicate.
I'm now feeling incredibly buoyant. Like I am now floating in concrete, which is pretty ridiculous because most of my body is out of the material, but because it's 3 times as dense as water, you can float just a pure waste. This is totally unexpected. I did not expect to be able to.
I didn't think that you can float in concrete. I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably don't know enough about concrete, but yeah, I just didn't know you could float in it.
Like float in concrete. My feet are off the floor. That's where my feet are. My feet are here and my shoulders are up and I'm just being pushed up out of it.
Once you have the cement powder, the other things you need to make concrete are the aggregates, sand and gravel. These are blasted out of a quarry. Then they're ground up to be particular sizes. There are very strict requirements about the sizes and shapes of the aggregate which is going to get poured into the concrete, because of course that will affect the strength of the concrete that results.
Yeah, this is just a well-graded concrete sand. The most well-rounded material helps the contractor as far as their finishability goes.
Yeah.
You know, when they're running that trowel over that slab, they want a rounded particle, not a jagged, crushed particle.
Do you really want like a spherical sand?
Rounded, yeah, spherical sand, like a river stone, like a river sand.
Oh, so yeah, basically like a seaside sand.
Designers on the strip want to pour concrete elevated. They want to lighten up the load of the deck. We'll incorporate some lightweight aggregate in place of this normal weight. 3/8 size. Typical concrete will weigh 150 pounds per cubic foot, normal weight. This gets us about 110 pounds per cubic foot.
It's so funny, he's trying to run up it. It's like a snow mountain. I love this. Oh, I just thought about it. It's like, you ever seen some people run up sand mountains? Like, I know, so since I'm near Chicago, the dunes in Indiana. That's like that. You have to, you would look like that running up them because it's sand dunes.
Aggregates are hauled to the concrete plant in big trucks.
All right, I'm gonna release the rock.
Where they're dumped. And then they travel on big conveyor belts up into storage piles. These get loaded into big hoppers and then weighed out and poured into the trucks.
Control operators can open this gate and drop material into this hopper, down into the mixer truck below. This is where the batch operator's controlling the plant. Right here in front of our batch operator, William, is the actual recipe that he's going to dispense into the concrete mixer. Each line represents a different component in the concrete. That top one there is a 3/4 rock. We have an intermediate 3/8 rock below it. There's your sand. Over here in this column, he's targeting, for instance, 3/4 rock. He wants to hit 13,000 pounds of material for that load. The computer is going to try to hit 13,042 pounds of 3/4 rock.
So everything's filling up?
Now, if he goes out of tolerance and he overshoots a target, it's going to change to red, a red color. Up here on this screen, we're actually showing the holding hopper. This material he's weighing is directly above the mixer truck that just pulled under the plant. What about the water, William? Being orange.
Yeah, we're a little under on that.
Well, we can always add a little water. Yeah. We cannot take it away.
Oh, so okay, so yeah, so water doesn't really matter because you can't take it away, but you can always add it. So that's fine.
All right, I'm gonna take a look inside the truck here. That's what it looks like down inside
That just means it's just better to just, it's better to have something that's a little too dry than a little bit too humid.
Cement truck.
So I was interested to see what would be the difference in strength between pure cement, cement with sand, and cement with sand and gravel, like the typical concrete mix that they would make. So I had them make up these special cylinders and test them in the hydraulic press. You might think that since pure cement has the most glue, it would be the strongest.
Cement's the magic, right? The glue. So if we lessen or lower the amount of cement per unit volume, we're going to have less strength.
But when we tested the pure cement cylinder, it fractured a lot as the load was applied.
No, let's let it keep going. It can take some more pressure.
What?
8,000 PSI, now it failed.
Now, cement plus sand. 9,100.
Not gonna lie, watching stuff blow up is kind of fun. That's why I love the hydraulic press channels though. Like they were like really fun to watch. Like how much like pressure could be put onto like objects.
163 psi.
Edit the prediction. My prediction was based on the strength it was 2 weeks ago, which we have here. We got 14 days of 6,600. So, you know, reason would be it'd probably break another 1,000 psi above that, but it definitely gained a lot.
And finally, cement plus sand and gravel. This is the normal concrete mix.
Is that it? No. Part of it.
Whoa. Okay,
So much broke out of it. Like that's crazy.
that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
So it did fail at 8,300.
Okay. I was surprised to see that all the cylinders broke under about the same pressure.
Thing to me really interesting that you could have all of that cement, right? But you don't get appreciably stronger than like this or that.
Cement is the most expensive part of concrete. So if you can get away with reducing it down to 30% in the mix and still get the same strength characteristics, well then you should definitely do that. The other thing that was interesting was pure cement seemed to flake and chip more as it was loaded. So it seemed like adding the aggregate actually helped the sample cohere and stay together even under all that load. So was Roman concrete superior to modern concrete? Well, the answer is no, in short. I mean, there were some surprising advantages that Roman concrete had. For example, it was actually less well mixed than modern concrete, so there were little blocks of undissolved calcium oxide, or quicklime, that remained inside Roman concrete. And then what happened is, when the concrete cracked and water got in there, it would dissolve that calcium oxide, forming calcium hydroxide, and then you would get the new growth of calcium carbonate.
And then so that means that you would just get more cement. And it would just basically like look like new after a while, which is kind of crazy.
So Roman concrete was actually self-healing. That's kind of a fascinating advantage. But I would say, by and large, you know, when we look back at the Roman structures, we only see the ones that have survived to this day, so there is a survivor bias. And finally, there's the issue of cost. We could make very strong concretes that could last an incredibly long time, but we choose not to, because it's just cheaper and we don't expect our buildings to last that long.
Also, a lot of bad infrastructure, to be honest, too. Like, you know, we're not making things to be like that's built to last, to be honest.
Before the concrete goes out on site, they have to make sure it's the right consistency for the customer, not too dry and not too runny. And this can be adjusted with water, but you don't really want to do that because that can also affect the strength. So here they use modern chemicals like superplasticizers.
Up here on the top left, you have our dispensing units for all our chemical admixtures.
And that's what they're adding now, a superplasticizer. It makes the concrete easier to work and spread around without really changing the water content very much. To check that the consistency is right, they perform something called a slump test or spread test.
We're going to fill the cone to the top, nice and level. And we're going to pull that metal cone off, measure the distance it travels on the board.
The concrete they're pouring on me should have a spread of 27 inches.
We're going to measure it both sides, right on a 27 on that one, and go this way, right on a 27 on that one.
So why is it so important that you got the right consistency of concrete?
You don't want it too dry, you want it wet enough to flow and fill up whatever container you're trying to fill. In this case, the sphere with you in it.
So the question is,
That is wild. That is a wild amount of concrete. Like just like in like a bowl, basically.
you're wondering is, how long can I stay in here before the concrete hardens? And the usual answer is about 4 hours without agitation. And that's why when you see concrete trucks driving down the road, that drum has to be turning to keep the concrete agitated and to prevent it from setting up. But what happens if the truck breaks down, or there's a traffic jam, or something breaks? Then, at times, concrete does harden inside the drum of these trucks, and that is a terrible outcome. But there is one thing you can do to slow the concrete down from setting, and that is to add some regular pop, like Coke. The sugars inside this Coke actually prevent the setting up process from happening.
Okay, tell me right now that you thought that Coke. Tell me right now that you thought that Coke was gonna be used in this video. Not the drug Coke. I'm talking about the pop Coke. And I don't care. I'm from the Midwest. It's soda or pop. I don't care. But but yeah. Tell me that you think that that was gonna happen today. That you were gonna see that in this video.
Happening, and that can buy you a few hours. So apparently these truck drivers, they drive around with a few 2-liter bottles of pop inside their cab, and so they can dump it in their load if they have to prevent it from setting up. So hopefully that means I'll get out okay too.
But how does concrete actually harden? Well, you have the dry mixture of gravel, sand, and cement powder, and then you add water. The water starts dissolving the cement powder grains, so ions enter solution. And some of those ions are calcium hydroxide. So that's what makes concrete a very basic solution.
What do you see?
We're approaching 12, 11.8.
So the pH of concrete can get up to 12 or 13. The pH of this is 11.8. And that's incredibly basic, which means if it's on your skin, if it's on your body, it can be dissolving your skin and cells.
Being buried in concrete is sort of like jumping in a vat of bleach.
And that's why I'm actually wearing a dry suit and some latex gloves. Yeah, it's not something you want to try at home, so do not try swimming in concrete.
I didn't think it would be like bleach. So like if like you step on concrete, like wet concrete, I wonder if it would have like that same like thing, like so like you see like on cartoons, like where people like fall into concrete. Like I wonder, like does it actually bleach their skin then?
Concrete.
So now the ions are dissolved in the solution. And remember, the most common compound in cement is tricalcium silicate. As it reacts with the water, crystals start to form of calcium silicate hydrates, plus other hydrate minerals. And all these crystals grow and become interlocking, causing the concrete to harden. Note that the water is essential to the formation of these crystals. So water is not evaporating, it's not drying out, it's actually becoming part of the solid concrete material. And that's why this chemistry is called cement hydration. It's also why freshly poured concrete should be kept in as damp an environment as possible. Las Vegas is so dry they frequently set up misters to spray around new concrete to ensure the humidity was high enough.
One of the things I realized while making this video is that limestone, the core component of cement and concrete, well, it comes from ancient sea life. Limestone is formed from the skeletons and shells of ancient sea organisms that, died millions of years ago, and then all of that got compressed. And now we use that to make huge skyscrapers and overpasses, basically every huge piece of infrastructure. It's made with concrete. And so now when you look at a beautiful city skyline, what you're really seeing is ancient marine life. Skyscrapers are made of seashells.
That is kind of weird, but I mean, yeah, you are right.
Skyscrapers are made of seashells.
Yeah, this is wild. This is hilarious. I have no words.
I'm like trying to push myself down into it, but it's like, it pushes me up. Like I'm pushing down into the concrete, but it's like, well, I'm getting pushed out of this thing. I'm just gonna try to push myself down in here. Ugh. Like that is it. There is no, you cannot get buried in concrete, okay? I'm doing my best right now to like sink down, and it is not happening. So I'm gonna use my arms to push myself in. Oh. Ah. Working against buoyancy, this is hard. We were worried about getting me out, but like I can't stay in. I'm gonna try to jump in. Here we go. That's it. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. That's great. Oh. That feels so good. I like don't want to get out. This is so nice. Does anyone got a time check? This stuff is not going to set up on me, is it?
Well, that was interesting. I didn't expect to see that on my recommendeds, but yeah, that was a very good video. Talk to you guys in the next one. Also, you could recommend me videos in the comment section down below, as long as they won't give me copyright strike or anything. And yeah, talk to you guys in the next video, and peace.